What are the legal and tax considerations when structuring a new 501(c)(8) spiritual organization alongside an existing nonprofit? How do you manage filings, privacy, and proof of tax-exempt status in that setup?
Okay. Yeah, so this question comes from Jeff. Jeff wants to know the legal and tax considerations when structuring a new 501(c)(8) spiritual organization and when doing it alongside an existing nonprofit. And he also wants to know about how you manage the filings, privacy, and proof of tax status in this setup. So I'm not sure what the privacy part of the question is. So this is why it's really great if you're submitting a question, if you can, to come to the workshop as well, because then we can have kind of a colloquy so that I can understand any gaps in the question. So I'm not sure about the privacy part. Proof of tax exempt status for any sort of 501(c) organization is something that the IRS is going to give you. And in fact, the IRS has on its website, at least the last time I looked, which was within the last month, they have a way for others to verify if an organization is tax exempt. So I can go in there and I can, like, let me see actually. And you asked me this, Anna, and I said, no, I don't need it to do. Anna, why don't you explain to them what you asked me earlier about websites ready to go and what I told you?
We do send a lot of links throughout these workshops for different resources, and I asked if there's anything that I should get ready beforehand.
Yeah, she asked me, are there any links? And I was like, no, I don't think so. And sure enough, I have one. So I'm gonna give you a link. So if you were to go to, so I'll pop it into the chat. And you can go here and there actually is a search function. So on the left side, you can actually go in and search to see if an entity has an exempt status. Now, typically, organizations are supposed to, there are IRS requirements about providing information to the public within a reasonable time period. A lot of organizations will just post these on their website because if somebody were to make a request, you're supposed to make it available for inspection on site, or provide it electronically within a reasonable period of time. And so instead of managing all of those requests, usually what they like to do is they like to go ahead and put it on their website. Okay. So you can actually, in terms of proof, you'll get that letter from the IRS regarding any exempt status. And typically you can line, which the point of that is so that third parties can verify regardless of whether they're getting the proof directly from the organization. All right. How do you manage filings? We actually have a really good workshop as part of Legal Training Studio where we talk about creating a compliance calendar, and we walk people through a really robust process for creating a compliance calendar to make sure that they're never going to miss their reporting requirements, whether those are corporate maintenance reporting requirements at the state level, if there are any federal filing requirements, and of course, you would work with your tax preparers for those as well. But generally speaking, it's good to have a calendar for that. I'll give you an example. In the law firm, we have a calendar for external deadlines. I can bring that calendar feed into any other calendar program and be able to see all of our deadlines across all of the matters. You want a compliance calendar for things like this. It just will make life so much easier for the business. But that to me is the best way. And you want your external providers validating those deadlines for you. You can, of course, validate them yourself, but always put someone where it is a part of their job that this is what they do. Someone needs to be accountable for this to the organization. So that deals with managing filings. privacy, which I'm not quite sure I understand, and proof of tax exempt status. There's one other thing about this, and I would say there's a couple out how to structure nonprofit industry organizations designed to educate the public around the various types of 501c entities. So you want to pick one that is really geared towards the type of 501c entity that you're looking to create. Now, by the way, not all 501cs are tax exempt. And I'm pointing this out because there's something around this structure of this question that would tell me definitely look at these resources if you're looking to go a route where you want to do some do-it-yourself education around it before engaging with an individual. And that's this. 501c8 is typically not associated with a religious organization. These are things like fraternal organizations, lodges, right? It's a type of member organization, and these are recognized as tax exempt, but they can be different from other types of organizations that we typically view as a fraternal type of organization or lodge type of organization. So understanding what is required to be in compliance with the IRS rules around the tax exemption, if that's a key part of your business model, and being tax exempt does not mean you're not a business. You're still a business, right? It's just that the profits of the business are treated a certain way. It's that the taxation of the business is treated a certain way, but it's still a business. And you want to make sure that the approach to setting it up as a 501c8 actually meets the objectives of your business. If it does, then you want to be sure that you have an understanding of what is absolutely required. So what we can do when we provide the answer to this question in our YouTube replay is add some links to some self-help resources around understanding the requirements, the IRS requirements for tax exemption. They actually have a wonderful course for nonprofits, which is one particular type of tax exemption under the 501c umbrella. But they have an excellent course that we recommend to all of our nonprofits for the leaders of the organization to take if they haven't already taken it, because it really explains some of the nuances around tax exempt status, around issues like volunteers, around what can lose your tax exempt status. For example, a political participation. What does it mean to participate politically versus not political participation? So I'm looking forward to being able to provide those links, because I think it will get you a lot further than me trying to give all of that advice in one answer response, because quite frankly, that type of guidance is really, that can be a whole semester long course and is actually at law school. So you want to make sure you're getting plugged into the right resources to help you. And if you wanted to go further, a way to go further with this is to get a consultation. So you can use self-help, you can use organizations, you can do low fee courses. There's a lot of that out there. But another way of getting help is to book a consultation or book a few consultations with different attorneys who can advise you on the different types of 501c organizations, various CPAs and tax planners who have experience in filing on behalf of different types of 501c organizations. I say this because you can spend a lot of time researching on your own in a vacuum, but sometimes you get in the room with the right person and things happen so much faster, because it creates so much more clarity around what you're looking for in your plans and all the information that you're connecting to out there. I tell people all the time, so often the issue is not the amount of content out there. People can go out there and they can search for years for the information. It's really about a connection to the right information and having it presented in the right context for where they are in that moment. And sometimes that's not going to happen by searching online, right? Or getting general guidance. Sometimes that can only really happen for you in a consultation. And I would even say then, a consultation with one person can leave you feeling more scattered. A consultation with another person can create the clarity that explicitly guides you on your next step. So getting into a consultation with the right person can sometimes it can just dramatically shorten their learning curve here and move you to the next step of action. And then there's the other part of this, which I tell people, sometimes the act of doing all of the research and helps to clarify for people whether this is something they really want to do. Just how I said earlier, that feeling that hesitation rise up in you when you get advice, that is information, that's feedback that is valuable to you around the things that you really want to do and whether you really want to do it. So I would say pay attention to all of that because it's going to help you. It's going to help you on the path for building what you want to build for the future. So I'm just going to go through real quick. Anna has a really good note here in the chat that what I would say is go to our YouTube channel, follow, and then do whatever you need to do to get notifications, because I know that it's going to look quite different in a little bit because Anna is going to be working on that channel, I think later today and tomorrow. So click the notifications thing so that you can get notified for when those changes get uploaded or made, so that you can say, oh, okay, now I can go. Now I see that this is now uploaded and this is added. And that way you don't have to remember to check back. You'll be notified when those changes are made, and then you can just go in and take a look at it at that time. But everything about the legal work around setting up a business entity and how you're structuring it is really about your ultimate goals for the future. So here we're talking about setting up a 501c8 that looks like it's going to be a lodge or a fraternal organization with a spiritual aspect to it. And that's being set up alongside a nonprofit. So some really good clarifying questions are, why is there a separation, right? What are the unique benefits that will be experienced by having a separation? What is going to be shared across those organizations? Because normally this isn't an issue. So why is it even a question to ask it? There's something here triggering the idea of asking this question because there's some sort of relationship between the two businesses. So what is the nature of that relationship in detail? Are they sharing a founder? Are they sharing a leadership team? Are they sharing assets like space? Or domains? Are they sharing? There's some things they can't really share, like bank accounts, right? Or shouldn't be sharing, right? And so you want to ask yourself, well, what does it mean to say alongside? What is that trying to capture, that phrasing that it is being set up alongside an existing nonprofit? I think that is going to be the key here when it comes to legal considerations, when considering, okay, where can you not have interplay between the two organizations, or it creates a risk to the exemption status or to some other issue with the new 501c8. So dig into that meaning of alongside. What is it they're sharing? What is the relationship between the two in a granular detail? And that can help you identify, okay, well, here's where we have to create clear separation. And here's where best practices say to do it like this instead of like that. And that is going to be where you get the insight you need so that you are compliant and not risking the structure that you're so carefully putting together.